Sorry for making everyone wait. Give me just a second. Hi. There we go. Let's see here. Yeah, thanks for coming in, everybody. Welcome. Okay, Bill, Shirkan, Paul. Oh, cool. Matt Parker. Great. Yeah, hey, it's working, man. So that means Facebook comments are working. Holy crap. Thank you very much, sir. I hope you are doing well and your family. Give me just 1 second, guys. I'm just checking that everything looks good on all my profiles, because you might recall I've been kind of struggling with YouTube and yeah, see? Okay, looks like live links are working. Cool. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Yeah, so we have sound. Yay! Thanks, Mitch, Chris. Great to see you. My thumbnail, I think I need to change that. I mean, I like the thumbnail, just the flag, but I want to have, something that says like "Why Ukraine" on it, something of that nature. And yeah, I should have like a pre-recorded intro, or I don't know. Obviously, one of my friends was. I think she was trying to give me a compliment. About the this live stream, and she said, "Well, it's or I guess the channel in general." And she said, it's not overproduced." Yeah. So, which it's not. That is absolutely true. It is not overproduced, for sure. Um, she said it's obvious that it's just one guy typing and doing whatever. Yeah. So I thank you all for your patience, and we're gonna get right into it today. Uh, as soon as I make sure I can see everyone's comments. Yes. I want to be able to comment as well. Damn it. Okay. We'll see. We'll see how it does. Anyway, this is one of the logos. Yeah, low overhead. Sure. There you go. That's a fair fair assessment, I suppose. Yeah. Hey, thanks, K-Bell, for handling the hellos for me. Yeah. So let's get right into it. First of all, for those of you who haven't been around, this is where I not just raise money, but where you can donate to the International Legion. This is the Shopify that I created for that purpose, and it seems to work pretty well. We had our first successful delivery this week. No, yeah, I guess last week, because it was last week. So a week ago, in fact, because today's Monday. Yeah, so last Tuesday, we had a successful delivery of socks, wool socks, which are always important, rain gear, uniforms, all kinds of stuff like that. Now I've added to this, and first of all, I'm happy to say that we are sold out of toilets. And I don't know if you can see. I'm gonna make my screen bigger here, because I'm proud to show you the toilets that I bought. These are the lids, and here they are. Dun dun dun. They're all stacked. Woohoo! Isn't this what you wanted to see? First thing in the, well, I guess for me it's first thing in the morning. Yeah. So got 3 of them here. Now what I'm gonna do with these? Okay, I can't get these separated while I'm sitting here. What I'm gonna do with these though is I'm gonna cut out the bottom. Okay, because right now these are just honey buckets. All right, I'm gonna cut out the bottom, and then yay, toilets. Oh, so sad that we have to even go here, but here we are. So, like I said, I'm going to cut out the bottom, and then I'm going to attach these to a platform, probably wood, because it's cheap and sturdy. Wooden platform. They'll be attached with like angle irons. I'm going to go to the hardware store today. Yesterday was Orthodox Christmas, or old Russian Christmas, some people say, but Christmas with the Orthodox Church. And as a result, some people are still kind of celebrating that, and it's hard for people to make the transition. My wife yesterday was complaining about how she's used to having Christmas today. I mean, I think she liked having Christmas on the 25th, but it's like she also wants to have Christmas, yesterday. And I'm like, well, so do it. Why not? Have 2 Christmases. I mean, nobody's the freaking Christmas police are not going to come to you and say you can only have 1 Christmas. You know, I mean, maybe there's a little bit of a social thing of like, because we're at war here, and there's a sense of wanting to show um, loyalty in some way, I guess. Uh, you know, loyal to your country. Uh, and I mean that's cool, but ultimately, yeah, have Christmas. So, um, as a result, some of the shops were closed, and the reason, if you notice, the way I'm projecting on your screen throughout our stream today may not be. It may be kind of wonky on the screen, and that's because my second monitor died, and I have to go and buy another monitor. I'm gonna pick up like a used one, really cheap. Um, yeah. Well, I mean, the way I do Christmas in my family, K-Bell, is Christmas for me starts on like around the solstice, and I raised my children. My children still do this with their own children. So Christmas starts around the solstice, or maybe Santa Claus Day, which is called Saint Nicholas Day, which is like the 19th. Um, uh, we always called it Ukrainian Christmas in Saskatchewan. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, and Ukraine is not the only group to celebrate Christmas. In some countries, in the Nordic countries, including England, but Norway and um, Sweden, they celebrated Yule. You know, and Yule could go for like 12 days. So New Year's would be the 12th day of Christmas. And you could keep on going. You could have the 20th day of Yule or the 30th day of Yule. Anyway, so so I couldn't get all the supplies needed to put a platform bottom on this. And then I'm going to do that this week, today, hopefully. And then I'm happy to announce that we also, wait, I want to share my screen again. No. Oh shoot. If you are on Facebook, it's possible. Well, let's see. Facebook has a weird thing that it does where when you switch between screens, especially if you turn off your camera, you can't turn your camera back on. It's kind of wonky. There's a lot of weird Facebooky things that I have to get used to. Anyway, I'm happy to announce that we sold out of uh, dish soap and hand soap for the barracks. Uh, we still have, if you would like to buy something that's absolutely necessary, trash bags, and the biggest thing is toilet paper. I want to buy enough toilet paper for every soldier in the training barracks for 1 month. Every soldier I want to get a pack. These pack. This is the cheapest toilet paper on freaking earth. Okay, all right. Every soldier, every new recruit. Oh my God, Flo, you're finally here. Thank you so much for coming. Hello, hello to Albuquerque, indeed. Um, Yes, Paul, thank you for bringing that up. Rebecca Masiorski's video about Ukrainian-made IFAC. Um, I saw that as well, and I haven't added like full-on pre-made IFACs yet. Not yet, K-Bill. I haven't added wipes yet. I'm going to do that. I'm also going to add floor cleaner, and I have a list here that my commander in the Legion gave me. Okay, and let me check off the things. Okay, I've added. Okay, we're gonna add shower gel so that the soldiers can clean themselves in the shower and don't have to buy that. Toilet cleaner. A lot of times we had to use just regular dish soap to clean the toilets, and I can tell you, it don't get rid of the stank. Okay, it doesn't. When you actually use real toilet cleaner in the toilets, it makes a huge. The whole barracks would smell like the toilets. It was really awful. When you have something that stinks, that smells worse than like 100 sweaty dudes, it stinks. Okay. Uh, so yeah, so we're gonna add that. I need to check what have I added and not added. Okay, that I have not added shower gel yet. I have added large trash bags. I need to add small trash bags. Wait, did I add laundry soap? Oh, see, I haven't added laundry soap. I gotta add that. Okay. But we've got hand soap and dish soap and toilet seat. So I've got and wipes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more items I'm going to add on there with regards to just basic fundamental, health and hygiene for our soldiers in the training barracks. That's what that's going to be about. And it's not sexy. And it's the sort of thing that for a lot of nonprofits, NGOs, whatever they are, who are delivering big truckfuls of stuff, it doesn't make these are low value items. Ultimately, it's stupid for them to bring big truckloads of this stuff over the border. So it's just a much better idea to have it shipped there. So definitely check that out. I'm happy about that. I'm going to put everything on here into some kind of order, so it's not just randomly strewn across the page, because that just looks dumb. So that will be happening hopefully today or at least this week. I'm constantly running behind, right? So let's get into talking about the news. I have no particular order for this. Sometimes I try to present these news items in some kind of an order, and I didn't have time for that today, so we'll go through them. I think maybe it's interesting to you, maybe it's not. The things that I present in my live stream as important are maybe not what others are presenting. You maybe get the blow by blow video by video battle information on some other streams, and that's great. I'm glad there are people out there doing that. I, my whole thing here is the viewpoint, the viewpoint from within Ukraine, and things that matter here, and news that you might not know about or think about from within Ukraine. And so this is one example of that, right? Court chooses. It's very interesting. Of course, this is a translation from Ukrainian. The wording that they use here: court chooses preventative measure for one of founders of Kyiv Huma company. So unfortunately, Kyiv Huma meaning like humanitarian. This was a company that apparently seems to have been set up, which took medical supplies that were donated and sent them to Russian military hospitals in the occupied territories. Like, what? It says, as the SBU found out, the company transported batches of tactical tourniquets and bandages of its own production to Russia for a total amount of, don't ask me how much 40 million is in US dollars, but it's a sizable amount. So, they're trying to hunt these things down, but yeah, it's a big problem, So, but these things are being hunted down. The SBU, which is like the Ukrainian FBI, basically, it's exactly what they are. It's the Ukrainian FBI. It's constantly hunting these things down, but it just shows you how the tendrils, the tentacles of the tentacles of Russian influence, reach deep, and it's not just in Ukraine. So, but we're fighting it. This is another front on the war. You understand? That's a big deal. So, but Zelensky made a really good point yesterday, and he makes like speeches to Ukraine and or speeches like almost every day. The dude does, and you have to understand some Ukrainians, even if they support Ukraine. Yeah, K&K. These people who are traitors to Ukraine should be exiled to Russia. I agree. And a lot of Ukrainians are very angry about these things, but you have to understand how deep this influence goes, and the cynicism that it breeds is what I would say is the most important. And so a lot of people are very cynical. I hear people to this day here in Ukraine, actual Ukrainians, still to this day say that Zelensky is a Russian plant by the FSB, and he is going to sell us out to Russia. That's a thing. Ukrainians really believe that quite frequently. I see it all the time. And in general, the whole world is like practically worships Zelensky. I mean, outside of Russia, but I mean the Western world, and the Ukrainians are like, he's okay. Which I mean, I think it's good to have a healthy suspicion with regards to be circumspect with regards to your politicians, to be sure. In a democracy, it's important. But so he made an important point, and I really kind of do believe this. Russia will lose power on the battlefield as soon as it loses control of the sky. and that, I think that this shows you Ukraine tactically and strategically knows this, and is, I don't know, maybe it's not right to say that they're like holding back, um, but I think they are to some degree, just playing defense until the F-16s come. You know, ultimately, until the F-16s are in place. Yeah, Luke, exactly. Come on, March. Come on, something, man. We're just hanging on. I feel like Gondor right before the Rohirrim. We've got we've got the Witch King on our doorstep right now. Come on, where's our Rohirrim here? The beacons are lit. you know, what do I have to do? Take off my pants and show you my pearly white legs? I mean, the beacons are lit. God damn it! So let's get those F-16s here. I know it's not just F-16s; it's air defense as well. That's when he says control of the skies. That's what it's about. Um, but yeah, that's a really important point. Again, as I said, no particular order for today, but I was reading this yesterday, and I know this is U.S. news, and I don't always talk about U.S. news because it's distracting and boring. But this has a direct effect on our situation here in Ukraine. And that is just like in Ukraine, you got people who are still believing propaganda, and I would say Russian influenced propaganda. The same is true I consider Trump to be a Russian influence operation, a very successful one in America. Phil, let's see. Oh, hey, Phil, welcome. Thanks for popping in from Facebook. It's great to see you. Let's see. I don't have to be the one, however, to state the interconnection between the two states. Yes, exactly. I have friends on both sides of this war that have family on the other side. Yeah, me too. I mean, my married family, the family I married into here, has family on the other side, and it's tragic. It's tragic. I only mean to point that out because I think it's sometimes not understood outside of the region. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And this has caused huge rifts within families, who 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 had relatives on both sides, sometimes very close relatives, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers. Um, and I have many Ukrainian friends and students who are not on speaking terms with their father, mother, brother, cousin, sister, whatever, all because of this war. And I mean, how can you turn your back on family? You know what I mean? That's the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing about it. So, but here in America, we have the same thing dividing us. So this is a new poll on January 6th, regarding January 6th. And most people condemn the January 6th insurrection, attack on the United States Capitol. So that's how most people view it. But so 22% approve. So this is just most people in general. All right. But when we look at Republicans are starting to move into the approve category. So this is Republican. This is the general populace. 78% disapprove of those who forced their way into the Capitol. But now, 3 years ago, 21% approved. Now it's 30%. So this shows you how the propaganda, the Fox News propaganda, is working. I had a student, what was it, on Saturday I spoke to, and she watches my live streams occasionally, and most Ukrainians don't know about Fox News, that it was set up by a Nixon, Richard Nixon, political aide, and a Republican political operative, specifically to promulgate the Republican Party line and just be a propaganda channel. And it was set up as a result of the fairness doctrine being repealed by the FCC, which is what allowed Fox News to continue its propaganda bullshit. Thank you, Ronald Reagan. It's what led us to this place. I mean, other factors as well, but yeah. So now we're looking at this very interesting poll here: MAGA Republicans, so Trump Republicans versus non-MAGA, and you can see where the growth is. The growth is in people moving into the MAGA category, the Make America Great Again category. That's really what it is. So it's Trump gaining speed. This is very disconcerting. So here again, this is the general American public, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents together. And this is just Republicans by themselves overall. So 37% of Republicans believe that the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol was conducted by people pretending to be Trump supporters. This is a conspiracy theory that the FBI or Antifa or some other group had a bunch of, it was all fake. It was all faked, It's propaganda. Straight up lies, It's a very interesting article. I highly recommend people check it out. It's not going to make you happy, but here, I'll put it in our channel, and here's where people talk about the police. What were the police doing? Law enforcement were trying to stop the protest. 31% of Republicans, but 20% of Republicans believe that the police were trying to encourage the protest. In other words, what they're saying there is that there were FBI plants. So this is where that 30%, 7%, 20% of them believe that there were FBI plants in the protest, and those fake protesters were the ones who were attacking the Capitol Police. And 66% of Republicans believe that those people who attacked deserve pardons. Wait a minute. It's these things, obviously what we're really looking at is the Republican Party is not monolithic. So, but they believe a diversity of lies. That's the real issue here. And it looks so much like a Russian influence operation of let's just spread out a bunch of different stories. None of them are the truth. So people just believe a whole bunch of different things, So 66% of Republicans think that they support pardoning those who forced their way into the Capitol. 34% oppose. And why do they oppose? Well, some of them oppose for good reasons, but a certain percentage of them oppose pardons because they believe those people were Antifa or FBI agents. It just goes on and on. And so this is the big debate, and this has real implications for my life. Okay, for my life, if Trump is elected, Ukraine this war is going to be a lot harder. I'm not saying Ukraine's going to lose, but this war is going to be a lot harder and go a lot longer. Ukraine will never, ever, ever give up. Yeah, Paul, exactly. I watched January 6th live on both CNN and Fox. They were obviously Trump followers, yes. Yeah. But here's the real kicker, right? This is what everybody in America is predicting. This is the whole populace. In future presidential elections, do you expect losses will be accepted peacefully? 51%, 49%. There will be violence. 49, it's 50-50. It's a 50-50 chance. And the thing is what people believe, because this is depending on people. If people expect there's going to be violence, then there's going to be violence. Your expectation determines reality. In this particular instance, it's absolutely the case. If you expect there's going to be violence, in the same way that Russia expected that NATO was going to take over Ukraine, and so they said, well, we got to start a war. If you expect there's going to be violence, then you're going to be violent yourself, or at least, you're more likely to be. The blade itself begets to violence. Yeah. So, and this is exactly what the Russians would want. Yeah, hey, if there's a civil war or civil unrest in America, then they're just going to forget about Ukraine, right? Let's see. So, Phil Jones, thanks for commenting, guys. I once heard that a definition of evil was that it was a deep polarization of extreme beliefs without willingness to speak about anything outside of their point of view. I am a card-carrying member of the Republican Party. I'm proud to say that. Yeah, exactly. I used to be a Republican. I have voted for Republican candidates, but I actually think that the things that we are divided about in America are not that. I mean, there are important issues. Yes, abortion. Okay, abortion is an important issue. I consider myself, a progressive. I've said before, anarcho socialist, but I'm pro life. Just because I line up with this team doesn't mean I believe 100% in that channel. We can't. It becomes identity politics at that point, and it just doesn't. There has to. I will say one thing I like about. One thing I like about European politics. I feel like American politics is like watching black and white television. Everything's in black and white. Okay, maybe shades of gray, but still, it's one or the other. And European politics, especially Ukrainian politics, is like watching color television. That's what it's like. It's just like there's all these different parties. In some parliaments, there's like hundreds of different parties, but 5-10 is normal. And I think that is something that that's a place that we need to get to in America. I think that will solve a lot of problems. The way to get there is to get the money out of politics, in my view. And Phil, I have a feeling that you as a Republican can agree on that. There's a lot of it'd be so stupid if we have a civil war over just bullshit, man. It's just bullshit. It's not like slavery that we're arguing over here, I mean, I think abortion is an important issue, but it's not worth killing each other. That's the opposite of the point. Okay. Enough about our American issues. It's like I feel like it's a little bit like coming on here and to a coming to a Ukrainian party or something like that. I don't know. Just only talking about America. Yeah, ranked choice voting, lots of potential solution. Yes, Paul, exactly. The two-party system. And it creates exactly that depolarization. Now, the Facebook algorithms and YouTube algorithms don't help. Okay, but we've had this problem for a long time, and Russia is just trying to take advantage of it. So we need to. Yeah, exactly. It's more like football than politics. Yeah. Well, this is why people um, people need to get out and play participatory sports. I think that's why my hobby being full contact medieval combat. I think everyone should do it. I mean, of course I do, right? But I think it would solve a lot of problems with like violence in our society. Because after I'm done fighting, beating the crap out of people or having the crap beat out of me, I'm good for the rest of the week. Anyway, um, so yeah, Timothy Snyder, really good article. I just highly, highly recommend it. Anything that Timothy Snyder says is like I'm just like right on, you know. Um, yeah, yeah, it's a false choice, Phil. Exactly, and my problem with the Democrats is they're just forgive my expression, Phil. They are Republicans in sheep's clothing. That's how I've spoken about the Democrats for many, many years. They're just they're controlled by money ultimately on both sides. You know. Anyway, so Timothy Snyder. By the way, I have dark mode like but it set up on this profile in Google Chrome, but it's forced dark mode. So I set this up. Uh, it's like a programming thing, right? Um, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Timothy Snyder. If you haven't watched it, Timothy Snyder has the whole Yale course on the history of Ukraine. Absolutely go and watch that. But if you want to know why Timothy Snyder's picture here is in like a negative, it's because a negative image. It's not really what he looks like. He doesn't really look like a freaking, you know, Nazgul from Lord of the Rings. It's just that I have a forced dark mode in it, and it does weird things sometimes. Anyway, yeah, so I just love it. You have a good neighbor. He does a lot for you. He keeps the street clean around your house. He mows your lawn when you're away. He signs for your packages and brings them to you later. And now your neighbor's house has caught fire. The flames are just now visible. There's plenty of time to react. In fact, you happen to be standing nearby at exactly the right place, watering your garden with a hose in your hand. The flames are easy to reach. Your neighbor runs to you and asks you to turn on the water in the direction of the flame, and you refuse. You turn off the water and walk away. And then you hurry down to your basement and shut off the valve just to make sure your neighbor can't be helped. That's exactly, and I hate to say it, Phil, that's exactly what the Republicans have done in Congress. It's exactly what they've done. All you had to do was flick your wrist and turn the hose in the right direction, but you didn't. It wouldn't have cost you anything. A nickel on your water bill that you wouldn't have noticed. And your neighbor's house burns down. And then yours does too. Because that's how this works. This fire is spreading. It's already spreading. It's we've got North Korea attacking South Korea, Venezuela and Guyana. Uh, uh, don't even get me started about the Middle East. Okay, and Putler it's his hand behind this. The Houthis, with Iran, they've got this the new axis, right? Iran, Russia, and China. Okay, and we're watching it burn, and it's going to spread to our house. And if it doesn't spread this way, it'll spread some other way. So, um, I have no particular order for my topics today, but I think I want to come back to this one. I want to talk about it, but I'm not ready to. I want to talk about the time that Europe's house was on fire. Yeah. And Ukraine saved it. Ukraine put out the fires. Well, okay. Sorry, Phil, you've distracted me. The southern border is not a real issue. Unfortunately, I used to live in New Mexico and Arizona, and I know well, there's all this stories about, oh, there's 10,000 people crossing the border a day. Yeah. And they go back home. If not every day, then, every week or once a month. They don't want to live in America. They want to keep their cheap homes in Mexico and work jobs for more money in the United States. And that makes perfect sense. It helps the economy. It helps our economy because we have extremely low unemployment, effectively zero unemployment. And our nation is built on immigrants. The reason that the US economy is growing, and for example, Germany's and most of the European countries' economies are not growing, Japan being another example, is because we have immigration. The southern border is not a problem. Stopping immigration would hurt our economy in the United States. Vastly hurt our economy. Like the percentage, the majority of our job growth, of our GDP growth, all of that is produced by immigration, legal or illegal, doesn't matter. I believe that this idea of they're coming to take our jobs, or our entire system depends on growth and immigration. They're coming to take our jobs. That's the argument that's put forth. Or they're coming to take our welfare. Well, which one is it? Which one is it? Are they coming to live off of government payments, or are they coming to work their asses off? It can't be both, right? I'm just going to say that America's welfare system sucks. Anyone who's coming to America to take advantage of our health care when we're like the only country, or the only developed country in the world that has no universal health care, and the number one cause of bankruptcy in America is health care. No, nobody's coming here for health care unless they're rich. Ridiculous. So it's an issue that is brought up because Republicans are more likely to be racist and xenophobic than Democrats. As conservatives, you naturally have a fear of the unknown and a fear of things that are new, and that's actually what makes you a conservative. Traffic people into the U.S. or sell drugs. Fentanyl is a thing. No, that is an issue, and it's okay to talk about this. I spent a long time talking about this, so I think it's worth discussing. How do we stop this drug trafficking? It's not by changing things at the border. We've been trying to stop drug trafficking since the 1980s and before, 1970s. In America, the border doesn't help. what helps is people in America not using illegal drugs, legalization of drugs, and treatment of drug addiction like any other illness. That's what will stop this. I mean, prohibition created Al Capone. Oh, thanks, Cheryl. Well, come back. Yeah, it's not connected to immigration. I mean, it's so legalization and regulation of illegal drugs is what will solve that problem. Second, what will solve the problem of immigration, if you really have a problem with people, trafficking humans into the United States, then let's invest in Central and South America and stop disrupting their governments as we have for the past 70 years or longer. Improving the lives, helping people in those southern countries to improve their lives will stop them needing to come to the United States. That's all. So putting up walls and putting up borders and everything it's short-term thinking. And I want to connect this to the argument. It is a little bit of hijack in the sense that it's not what I had on my list, but Europe right now, Europe right-wing shift. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Europe right now is having a right-wing shift, largely based on immigration, because of immigration. And, we've Sweden, Italy, Finland, Slovakia, all of these countries. And it is a Russian psyop. It's a Russian political operation. So the Russians basically bombed the shit out of Syria, rendering millions of Syrians with no home. And a lot of them tried to enter into Europe. And some of them were in ISIS. Some of them were in other radical groups. Hey, King Raccoon. Russia knew this. And Russia, it was a long-term plan. They knew that getting these, when people are afraid of immigrants, when people are feeling afraid in general, they tend to vote more conservatively. They tend to vote for conservative politicians. Conservative politicians in general tend to be less democratic. I mean, democratic with a small d. In other words, they tend to believe that a strong leader and stronger laws about this and that, stronger enforcement, I should say, stronger police will solve the problem. And it doesn't, ultimately. It doesn't. It causes more problems. So, again, speaking as an anarcho-socialist, I believe that government should give us all the benefits of the welfare state, I guess, and get the fuck out of our lives. That's what I believe. Government should serve us and not the other way around. And unfortunately, these conservative politicians in Europe also turn out to be Eurosceptics. Okay, so they're holding up the basic functioning of the EU in many ways. They tend to be nationalist, which means that they don't believe in collective action, which hurts Ukraine and helps Russia. When Europe is divided, and you've got different nationalist views, France and Germany fighting with each other, and Italy and blah blah blah. Orban, exactly. Orban dragging Europe down. It was a plan. It was their plan. And in many ways, you could see conservatism coming. Conservatism is a function of age, oftentimes. As we get older, we start to think about how great life was in our youth, and we want things to be that way again. That's the nature of conservatism, is you want things to be like they were before. You want to conserve those things. It's the opposite of progressivism, where you want to move on, you want to make progress. Yeah. There you go. It's Russia's fault that Africans and Afghanis have moved to Scandinavia en masse because idiots in the Swedish parliament. Yeah. Yeah, I lived in Sweden too. So, like I said, though, Europe's politics are color television, and it's much more difficult ultimately, I think, and this is a good thing. It was much more difficult for in the long term for Putin to control what's going on in European politics than it's like herding cats, because they're all going off in different directions. Yeah, he can control Slovakia or Orban, but he, Maloney, the Italian. Oh no, this isn't the Italian. Giorgia Maloney, is her name Giorgia Maloney? Anyway, all these conservative politicians may or may not serve the purposes, whereas the purposes of Russia. Whereas in America, because it's so black and white, it's easier to influence and control, and that's the point of what they're doing. So, Phil, you didn't hijack my stream. Actually, you just led it into an important point, and I... Oh my God, Sarah! Wow, holy shiitakes is right. Wow, thanks for coming. Amazing. No, actually, Phil, I really appreciate you coming and bringing up these topics. And I know it's hard and it's difficult. It's like pooping, It's like when you have to take a really big poop. Oh, by the way, Sarah, sorry, we're all about toilets and pooping today. I'm sorry, guys. But sometimes, you got to take a really big poop and it doesn't feel good. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, God, all right. Glad I'm done with that. So anyway, thank you for bringing it up. But we were talking about the very good story article by Timothy Snyder, the metaphor of your neighbor's house is on fire. You sit there and you don't stop it. It's like a bad dream. Why are you not stopping the fire? And then your house burns down, right? Because that's how the fire spreads. So I just want to bring up this historical point. Oh, Sarah, I don't know what that says about you. But who doesn't, right? So there was a time when Europe's house was on fire and Ukraine put it out. Simple as. And this has to do with the Ottoman Empire, the Ottomans' attempt to take over Europe. And the Ukrainian Cossacks, many and multiple times, helped Europe. Thank you, Phil. Yeah, exactly. We don't want to spend the whole time talking about the U.S. or EU politics because this is about Ukraine, but it does have an effect to an extent. So yeah, the Cossacks, the Ukrainian Cossacks, many and multiple times fought off the more coffee, fought off the Ottoman Empire from taking over Europe, without which Europe would be Muslim and of Muslim culture today. So especially if you're conservative on a historical basis, you should appreciate that, at least as a European conservative, and feel some, I don't know, some debt to Ukraine for that, you know. So we can talk about this story, or I can just link it to you. It's very interesting. So this is the Battle of Hotin. It's called 1621. All right, and this was a major battle of the Turks trying to invade Europe, and then this is memorialized in western parts of Ukraine. I've been to like lots of museums, and there's huge paintings like this one, on different walls and things depicting the Battle of Hotin. I never knew about it until I came to Ukraine. Didn't even know what it was. But there was another time that I'd like to speak about that Ukraine not only saved Europe, but created, I shit you not, created the Enlightenment. Like the Enlightenment, right? With, I don't know. The Enlightenment that led to the American Revolution. There we are. I want to set it in historical context for you. Yeah. And how did Ukraine do this? Or more specifically, a Ukrainian do this? And I think if you look on the screen, you'll see the answer of what I'm getting to here. So the situation is 1683. And yes, Phil, you said the Ottomans were stopped in Austria. And specifically, the last time that the Ottomans besieged Vienna was 1683. And after that, the Ottoman Empire, or at least in Europe, the Ottoman Empire in Europe began to kind of fall apart. Arguably, the Ukrainian Cossacks were the linchpin that ultimately defeated the Ottoman army outside of, basically the Polish army came to the rescue of Austria and the Viennese in 1683. And I don't need to bore you with the details of the battle. This isn't a history channel yet. It's not yet, but here we go. I will bring up the Wikipedia article on it. So the Battle of Vienna. You guys, you can take a look at it if you want. There you go. There's a nice picture. Okay. And I believe that's the Polish king, maybe, in defeating the Mongols. No, Ottomans. Sorry. You got it. Thanks. Thank you. Slava Heroi. Glory to the heroes. Yeah, so this was the last great battle for Europe, essentially. And Vienna was in a rough place. They had been attacked about 100 years before and barely saved from the Mongol invasion. And once again, the Cossacks came to the rescue. Now, it's very interesting. Some of the Polish army that saved Vienna, when the Ukrainian Cossacks were, fighting alongside them, some of the Polish army started attacking the Cossacks because they couldn't tell the difference between the Ukrainians and the Turks. Because culturally, large parts of Ukraine, of course, were part of the Crimean Tatar, the Tatar Khaganate, which was previously part of the Golden Horde. Anyway, it was under the influence, heavily influence, a puppet state of the Ottoman Empire, and so there was a lot of Ottoman cultural influence in Ukraine, and in terms of modes of dress, and the so the Polish, Western Poles and Western Europeans who were involved in the fighting had to be shown like, no, these guys, they look like the enemy, but they're actually on our side. you know, so um, mm, yeah, Phil. Thank you very much. By the way, Phil, I'm hopefully going to be on Dr. Gerdes in the coming weeks. So he's obviously a conservative like yourself, Reagan Republican, as he says, and so that'll be fun. I hope you join some of those videos or live streams. But yeah, so this big siege, and basically the Ukrainian Cossacks came in at the last minute, and saved the day. So after the battle, by the way, the Cossacks managed to take part of the Ottoman Sultan's baggage train, or his, like, they almost killed the Sultan. And one of the things that they apparently found, so the story goes, was uh, a big um, big stash of coffee, coffee beans or coffee grounds. We don't know what, but this was part of the and of course coffee was a big part of Muslim culture and had been for almost 1,000 years, certainly at least 500 years, and but not in Europe. They didn't have coffee in Europe. Coffee was not a thing. Caffeine was not a thing. They didn't really have tea yet. Tea was not yet a thing in Europe. So they had all this coffee left over from the battle, and they didn't know what to do with it. Yeah. So one Ukrainian Cossack said, "You know what? Give that to me. I'll take the coffee. I know what to do with it." And he did. And if you can read this article here, and it tells a nice story. A lot of Ukrainians don't know this story. I've had to tell this story to a lot of Ukrainians. And basically, because this Ukrainian Cossack had been captured by, had lived with the Turks in the Turkish army, so he knew what to do with all of this coffee. He took the coffee and he started making um, uh, this coffee in Vienna. And at first, the Viennese didn't like the coffee. So Yuri picked up 300 bags of coffee in an abandoned Turkish camp as a trophy. That's the story. So he started making coffee. Now, the coffee culture in Ukraine is super important. Really. Oh, thanks, last one. Thank you for coming. And coffee shops are, you walk around Kyiv or whatever, even in my little village here, it's like Starbucks couldn't get into the market here because people tasted Starbucks for the first time and they were like, "What is this crap? Why do Americans like this?" Uh, uh, I mean, arguably, yes, they're very similar though in terms of the coffee making traditions, Sarah. But yes, better than Turkish coffee. Yes, and lots of different kinds of coffee, and really cheap. Really cheap. And people drink coffee here more than they drink water, I would argue. You know, um, and so yeah, basically, the long story short is, it was a Ukrainian, this dude, Yuri Kolchitsky, who brought, uh, who opened the first European coffee house in Vienna. And that's where we get the term, Viennese coffee. Okay. people came to his coffee house and would sit around drinking coffee. And this coffee house culture, many would argue, coming at the end of the Renaissance and the end of the scientific period of scientific revolutions, as we call them. People started coming to the coffee shop. They'd sit there and drink coffee, and of course, coffee, it may not make you smarter, but it makes you feel like you're smarter. There's the meme of, caffeine makes you do stupid things faster. Well, yeah, basically, this coffee shop culture in many ways is what led to what we now call the Enlightenment. And it spread from Vienna all the way to England. And then when tea became a thing, it became coffee and tea in these coffee shops. And so the classic picture that you would have of a coffee salon in during the Enlightenment. So Enlightenment, learn to spell salon, right? So these classical, maybe not classical, but these pictures of what we call now a salon means a place where you get your hair done. But in Enlightenment period Europe, it was a place where you went to drink coffee. And people would sit around saying, "Oh, I'm drinking coffee. I have intellectual things on my mind." Anyway, the point is, it was all started by a Ukrainian. And here's the deal. Here's where it started, right here. It's very interesting, Not only did Ukrainians save Europe multiple times, but also brought about the Enlightenment. And, and this is the thanks we give them, is to say, no, we're not going to help you. We're not going to help you, defend yourself. We're not going to give you enough money to even buy toilet paper for your soldiers, So it's a problem. Anyway, I just liked this picture. This is from Operator Starsky. I've seen some memes about the New York Times, just because the New York Times has been putting out some highly questionable articles, and it turns out that on their board of directors or managerial board, they've got possibly some Russian plants. That's that's what's being talked about. So yeah, orc's gonna orc. This is a very interesting piece of news. The head of Putin's state-run TV empire, Zoya Konovalova, found dead after being poisoned. This is very interesting. Now, I don't like The Sun, by the way, obviously, for obvious reasons, because they're like a tabloid. They're like the Fox News, or worse than, maybe, of Great Britain. But they put out a lot of very interesting. It's very interesting that conservatives in Great Britain, especially, are 100% behind Ukraine. K-Bell, very interesting. King Raccoon, I sent a request to you. K-Bell, same pick as here. Yeah. It changed over to tea a little bit later. So they drank coffee in the Enlightenment first, and then for various reasons, coffee. I think. I mean, I had a situation in my 20s where I drank too much coffee, for years, and it screwed me up, screwed up my metabolism. And so I could not drink coffee for, well, since I was about 30 years old. I stopped drinking coffee, or before 30, maybe like, no, like 28, 27, 28, because it got to the point where it wouldn't keep me awake. It would just put me to sleep. And I honestly, until I started this live stream, I would never, ever drink coffee, you know. So I think that, people drank too much coffee, and so they switched to tea. That's my theory. That's my historical theory. But that is what happened historically, is that at some point in the 18th century, I think probably it has more to do with geopolitics and imports and economics, but especially in the English Empire, they founded the East India Company, started importing tea, and yada yada. Anyway, so this is a very interesting question here. Going back to, it's getting hard to figure out all of these assassinations of important people in Russia, and it's not happening in Ukraine. Okay, people are not getting. I mean, there's not assassinations happening behind the lines. People get arrested for being traitors. That's for sure. But they're not just being assassinated. Yeah, Putin tea, exactly. I mean, but it's the question: was she assassinated by? Was she assassinated by Putin, or was she FSB, or was she assassinated by Ukrainian partisans, or Ukrainian operatives? Oh, to my Facebook. Oh, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, King Raccoon. Yeah, I'll definitely friend requests, for sure. Yeah, you're welcome to friend me on Facebook, and we have a Facebook group. Although people don't talk a lot in our Facebook group. They drink tea, not coffee. Yeah. Oh, I see. Right. Um, yeah. Okay, Bill. Sorry, it's early in the morning. I haven't had enough coffee. Just about the time that our live stream ends is when I'll finally be like, yes, I have enough coffee now. Yeah. No, there's too much blood in my caffeine stream is the problem. So yeah. So I mean, these are actually obviously younger pictures of her, but oh yeah. So here's another person, Anna Tsareva, deputy in chief in favor of Putin's favorite propaganda newspaper. It's very interesting. Like, we don't know who's killing these people. I mean, there's so many people flying out of windows, and yes, the Russian Federation started calling Ukrainian soldiers elves, and also there are pro-Ukraine movements in like Estonia and things where they refer to themselves as elves. I'm considering rebranding Why Ukraine as the last alliance of elves and men. No joke. I'm really thinking about that. Or kind of doing, or mixed branding or something. I'm not sure. Yeah. Like, I've actually looked up the elvish, like, on the shelf. No, I think it's more about the fact that we call the Russians orcs, and Putin is like the Dark Lord. But yeah, it's just really it's tough to tell. There's so many. It's like, but why? Why would Putin assassinate this person? Maybe she finally stood up to him. Elf patch. That's a good idea. I like that idea. I want to have like something that's like a combination of the White Tree of Gondor with the Ukrainian flag as a symbol. Very interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, why was she killed? Why was this person killed? Was she killed because the Ukrainians are trying to to take out Russia's propaganda machine, or was she killed because she said the wrong thing to the Dark Lord? Maybe she finally stood up to him and said, I can't stand these lies anymore. Maybe. We don't know. We won't know for many, many years, I think. Yeah. Things are not in very, very good order, but I wanted to present you with this video. So this is United 24. Now, United 24 is the Ukrainian government's YouTube channel. Yeah, Flo, it's tough to say. It's tough to say. So we're not going to go through this whole video, but this is a very interesting video. No, this is not the video I wanted. Dang it! Hang on. I have to go to. Okay, this is not the video I wanted. I apologize. Why didn't? Okay, give me a second. Well, by the way, just to take a step back, this video here about LGBTQI in the military, in the Ukrainian military, I personally know some LGBTQI people who are fighting in Ukraine, who are my personal friends. So there's that. Okay, but the video I wanted to show you, OMFG James. And I lost it. No. It's this one right here. Isn't it? Okay. Damn. All right. Maybe it's not the right one. There's the one that I'm looking for is. I apologize. I lost the video. The one that I'm looking for is a kind of an essay on all of the different special units in Ukraine. And that I'm talking about. Oh, it's right here in front of me. Oh my God, I can't read. This is the one I wanted to link. All right, so this is the video. Okay. Oops. There we go. I know you can't hear it, but that's okay. Okay, so basically this gives a kind of an overview of the origins and the operations of Azov, Magyar, Da Vinci, and Kraken, who are the four big famous. Well, they say five, but because they separate Azov and the third separate assault brigade, but a lot of people group those together. In any case, they just talk about the origins, how they happen, and keep in mind. I always try to keep in mind that United 24 is Ukrainian state-run YouTube channel set up after the war, to make Ukraine look good. So you could call them propaganda. I think you could call them propaganda in the same way that your resume is propaganda. In other words, it's meant that they definitely are trying to make Ukraine look good, strong, powerful. They have that agenda. It's important to be aware of that agenda. But you can also learn things, important things. Yeah, thanks, Mitch. Yeah, it's pretty good. So we're not going to go through the whole thing. It's worth watching. What I would like to emphasize is as they go through this, they talk about how each units, each of these famous, units and organizations, how they work, their inner workings, what makes them different from just the regular general Ukrainian army. And the thing that they keep saying over and over and over throughout this, when they talk about Azov, when they talk about Magyar, when they talk about Da Vinci and Kraken, they talk about planning. They say that over and over, that's the thing that all of these groups have in common is that they do good planning. Yes, thank you. United 24 doesn't lie. They just focus on the positives. That's exactly right. Just like your resume, right? Wait, Sarah, you said, but like, do you think Russians have ever seen the movies? They're blatantly saying they're the bad guys and the Ukrainians are the good guys. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? With the elf thing, yeah, it's wild. So anyway, it's very you can watch this and just like you can read someone's resume, and even though it's all talking positive, you can see, let's not say the negative, but you can see where things need to improve. And I take it that there are commanders, there have to be analysts, strategy analysts in the Ukrainian army, the regular Ukrainian army, who are looking carefully, and certainly um, NATO and the United States military, freaking everybody, CIA, all these guys, they're looking at these units and saying, okay, why have they been so successful? And it's just very interesting that the United 24 chooses to put the emphasis on these guys and not on other brigades in the Ukrainian army. Just like on your resume, you might choose to emphasize certain positive things and not other things. So these guys are like the rock stars of Ukraine right now. So people are looking at them going, what are they doing right? How can we emulate that? And that's a good thing. And the one thing that they say over and over here is planning, proper planning, and proper intelligence. And these units take a long time to do proper planning and proper intelligence. And when they do their operation, they're well trained. And it's pretty crazy because Kraken started out as a bunch of football guys. Magyar had no military experience, and nor did Da Vinci. No military experience when they started. Why were they so successful? I think those questions, why are they so successful? I think these questions have to be being asked by the top levels of the Ukrainian army. And it kind of also reveals the fact that I keep hearing over and over that in many other brigades, not all, but many other parts of the regular Ukrainian army, there is um, to be honest, Sarah, I'm not entirely certain. There's a third separate assault brigade that was Azov, and they were formulated into the army as the third assault brigade. And then then there's all kinds of subunits, and then at the end here they talk about the Azov brigade, and these two are separate from each other, and I'm not entirely certain how. It explains it in the video, and I watched it, and I still don't understand. So if anybody wants to watch this whole video, go back, and maybe I'm just stupid or I hadn't had enough coffee when I watched it. But regardless, when you accentuate the positives, you also can potentially reveal the negatives. Well, yeah, okay. It seems that each and every one of their members function on an incredibly high level as an individual. And yes, the Kraken thing, they talk about how they're incredibly their selection process is very difficult. So a lot of people apply and few get in. Okay, that's probably one thing. So they each have individual traits, traits that are more coffee. Okay, traits that are important within that group that make them successful. But the one that they have in common is planning and reconnaissance. Yes, I can. Oh, thanks, Matt. Oh, I didn't know you were still watching. Thank you very much for. Catch you later, dude. So yeah, this is very interesting. But what this implies, also, unfortunately, is that the rest of the Ukrainian army maybe doesn't have these characteristics. And I've heard over and over from soldiers who have fought in the regular Ukrainian army, and also in the international legion, who've said there's virtually no planning, no reconnaissance. They just send us out, Marcus, the Marcus Brigade, the 47th Assault Brigade. Marcus himself complained about this, and that's the old Soviet mentality. Russians are over there, go kill them. That's the planning, okay? And it's very clear that these independent units, one of the reasons that there are these independent units is because they didn't want to play that way. So there we are. This is a reason why I am joining the Legion, because I want the Legion to play this way. I want the Legion to emulate these things. It's too bad you jumped off, Mark. I hope you watched this part, because Matthew was in the Legion as well. He was an important person, let's say. And I think this is an important statement to make, that the Legion needs to emulate these groups, and can. We have enough independence to do so. There's no reason we couldn't. Anyway, okay, I will move on. Thank you, guys. I apologize if that was boring for everyone, but for me as a soldier and future soldier, it was important to me. So, all right. So, God, we have to talk about it. So, basically, by law now, Pyotr can just circumvent any and all, in terms of changing what this is really about. Putin signed a decree to steal Ukrainian children. We've talked about this multiple times. It's the worst, arguably the worst war crime of this war. They're stealing Ukrainian children, literally legally changing their identity and indoctrinating them. Thank you, K&K. Yeah, I feel the need to talk about these things that are not covered elsewhere. That's exactly right. I watch a lot of the other streams and I say, okay, good. That's being covered. That's being talked about. I'm glad. So what can I talk about? Or mainly it's just what catches my interest. Things you might not know. But this is, yes, thank you. This should be automatic ousting from the UN. Okay. Now, this is a bad translation. This is in the community tab of my channel here. I have a link to this. Illegal passportization of Ukrainian children. So this is a law, or a decree rather, by Putin on defining certain categories of foreign citizens and stateless persons who have the right to apply for citizenship of the Russian Federation. Okay. Except these children are not applying to be Russian citizens. It's being forced upon them. They're being handed a passport and being told, your parents don't love you anymore. Your country hates you. You're now Russian. They don't get a choice. Okay. It is known that orphans and children left without parental care, Ukrainians, again, bad translation, but can be issued passports by Putler's personal decision and without consideration of all legal requirements. So this is just like in America that the president can pardon people. He has this special power. Well, in Russia, Putler has the ability to make you a Russian citizen just by signing a document. Okay. So under this decree, this is kind of systematized. In other words, basically, Putler is writing a blank check to say, okay, anybody who's I'm delegating that power to other agencies within Russian organizations that forcibly, I think they meant to say that forcibly hold Ukrainian children, can apply to issue passports to the kids. And the problem is that if you take a child who is below the age of, I don't know, 5, 6, they might forget. They might forget. They might have a very, very dim memory of where they came from and who they were. By the time they're found, they may have no idea that they're Ukrainians or that they had parents at all in Ukraine. And it's even worse for the ones who are older, because they will be made to believe that they're not loved, that nobody cares about them in Ukraine, that their own parents didn't love them. That's an awful thing for a child. It's an awful thing for a child to go through, to be rejected by your family, to be told to see that. Sorry, it's traumatic. It's traumatic. I don't want to talk about my childhood, but it's connected for me. To be kicked out of your home, to be forcibly taken from your home, and to be told that you're no longer a part of this family. For a young child, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, those ages, that's awful. That's crushing. That's crushing to the psyche, and a strong will can fight against that for a long time, but children's brains are meldable over time. It's really the most awful thing, I think, and of many hundreds, thousands, millions of awful things in this war. It's the most awful thing, and perhaps even the most long lasting. I Sorry, I know the sound is not working here. Wait, I want to make sure. Yeah, okay. All right. My shared screen is working. Okay. So I want to comment on this Rebecca Masiorowski. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. I've been watching her for a while. She's a medic. I guess American medic in the Ukrainian, volunteering in Ukraine, I think, with hospitalers. I could be wrong about that, but regardless, she relies entirely on donations. And she's coming on here and saying, just let you read the say, okay. I have one question. Why does it always take you so long to make videos? I have massive anxiety around posting on social media. Tell me about it, man. Why do you think it took me until now in this war? When I started this channel uh, almost a year and a half ago, why do you think it took me until now to start doing live streams? I wasn't ready, not just technically. I'm probably still not ready technically, but psychologically. Really. And the other thing she says is, I also have a job to do here. And so her main job is not to be, a social media person. Her main job is to be a medic. And so she talks about this problem, which is every morning I wake up and am I making a video or an Instagram post, or do I do my job? And unfortunately, she says, I've noticed that if I don't post, the donations stop. And I'm not able to get supplies that I need to do my job. And when I'm most busy is when I post the least and when I most need supplies. Because it's typically during heavy evacuations, trainings, when all the supplies are running out, and I'm the most busy that I have the least time to post. Okay. So I hope I can get in touch with this person, Rebecca. Because I want to, this is exactly the sort of person who I want to propose this. Okay. Like, and she obviously is not going to have time to set up a Shopify website. I want to propose to her, hey, I'll do it. Or actually, what I really want to do is have a group of Ukrainians, like maybe a little company or an NGO, whatever it is. I'm not sure what it's going to be in terms of official status, who can go and replicate what I'm doing for other YouTube channels like hers. Okay. And so she can post just a little short and say, hey, I need this. Click on this link. So that she doesn't have to take time out of her day, as much at least. She doesn't have to do these big long videos and spend hours doing video editing. She can just, and then you guys can, or you, not just you, but people all over the world can go to her Shopify, or if not her Shopify, then like you can, within this like one Shopify, I can set up different like collections. So I could have the Rebecca Masiorsky collection, and you can go there and you can click on it, and there will be a column on the page, and this column will be the Rebecca Masiorsky column, and then this column here will be the International Legion column. And this column will be, somebody else, and maybe one column here just to support the work that I'm doing in general. And these will change as different groups are supported and as needs change. That's my goal here. So I want to reach out to Rebecca. But here's the thing: I'm working too. So I would love it if one or more of you could go and check out Rebecca Masiorsky here and go say hey to her. Hey, there's somebody working on something that could help you. Well, Brandon had to go back to Sweden because of visa issues, and he's going to be there for a while. But he'll have. Hopefully, he will. Maybe I'll talk to him about, hey, do what I'm doing. Do what I'm doing. Yeah. She used this post, for getting supplies in, but she shouldn't have to use the post. She shouldn't. This should just be out there, and we need an organization of people. So it's not just her doing this. It's a support organization. And maybe part of her support organization could be one of you guys who, all you have to do is, she sends a little text that says to you that says, "Hey, uh, we need this," and then you, as a volunteer in her support organization, send out a link to, maybe it's, for example, instead of toilet paper, it's chest seals or tourniquets, and you send out a link to your social network, and then people in your social network kind of send out. Yeah, everyone has their own followers, exactly, and I want to kind of cross link those networks of followers. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Messages could be like 30-second shorts, not a big long video saying, "Hey," and she talks about how she just feels insecure and the need to justify herself all the time. And I'm like, no, you don't need to justify yourself. And the fact she talks about the fact she feels the need to wear makeup because she gets more donations when she wears makeup. And I'm like, oh no. Oh, okay. We need to help people like this. And that this is exactly um get her contact with Greg. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Greg Terry. Yeah. 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 And this cross linking of, so she needs to be linked up with different um outfits like Greg Terry, like Norse Aid, like all of the other many um you know NGOs out there who are bringing stuff into Ukraine. We need to create a mesh network, a cross-linking network, not so many silos. Because she is obviously kind of feeling alone out there in the wilderness, as it were. And um, this is exactly the sort of person that I want to help in the end. So yeah, we'll. Uh, I think I want to end with that today, because the next part of the discussion that I want to have is about like religion, and that's a big topic. And I think this is a good place to end. I think we'll talk about religion tomorrow, if that's okay with you. No, I mean, yeah, she's a beautiful woman, to be sure, shockingly beautiful. And hey, whatever works. I will wear makeup if it will make you. I'll wear a pink tutu if it'll help you motivate you. Sorry. Um but yeah, I think this is a good place to end, is just talk, because focusing on what's important. I want to, if Phil Jones, I know he left the stream, if I hope that Phil was not offended by our discussion and a little bit of a debate. I don't like to have big major debates, but I really appreciate Phil's opinion, and he's obviously extremely knowledgeable, and we have a lot of crossover in our knowledge bases. So people like that, if you are a conservative Republican, or like, for example, I think K Bell, Catherine Bell, you mentioned that you are a Pentecostal, for example. I was, uh, you know, yeah, yeah, you're right. It's sad that her donations dropped. So we've got a big mix of people in here. We need to have a big tent. I have very strong opinions about politics and social stuff and all of that. Um, I don't like to spend all the time debating, but I think it's important, and I like alternative views. You know, and I think that's, if we all thought the same way, if we all walked lockstep with each other, we would be Russians. That's Russian society. And Chinese society is another example, that where it's very conformist. The word is conformist. And that's not the kind of world, that's not the kind of society we want to have. You know, we want to have different opinions. And yeah, so that's all I have for you today, for now. Yeah, exactly. What a boring world that would be. Exactly. Oh, left-handed, was married to a Pentecostal, and worked for a Baptist NGO. Yes, that was it. That was it. Thank you, K-Bell. So, you know, I'll say negative things about Republicans and Baptists. I will also say negative things about Democrats, um, and anarchist socialists too. Yeah, it's really cool. It's one of the cool things, Paul. I've noticed that people in support of Ukraine come from all walks of life. Yeah, and that shows just how universal the belief in, you know, freedom and democracy, and just helping your fellow man. You know, and I I don't know if I believe in Jesus. I don't think it's so important. It's not so important to me, but I do believe in some of the things he taught and what he said. You know, uh, so that is part of the discussion I want to have tomorrow. A little bit about religion and the differences between religion and the differences between the two Orthodox churches in the Orthodox tradition versus the Western Christian tradition. And what I've noticed, how that affects society and people here. Yeah, K Bell. It's not too hard. It's not hard to work out good versus evil. Yeah, well, for some people it apparently is when your mind is warped by other values. So we'll talk about that as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's little live stream, and don't forget to support Ukraine as much as you can, in whatever way you can. Slava Ukraine. Do побачення.